G'day everyone, Jason Nunn, Fisherman's Warehouse, Tuckerwald, Marks Point, on a very rainy, windy and lots of lightning bolts and thunder happening this Friday afternoon. You're not going to get fishing this afternoon, I don't believe. We just had a bit of a power blackout down here at Marks Point as well, so the lightning and rain is really sort of kicking in. Hopefully this front will start to move through tonight. We're going to see some strengthening winds out of the south tomorrow, around about 25 knots, possibly a bit better along the coast, but it settles very quickly and Sunday starts to settle, and we're looking like we're going to get a really good run into next weekend, and of course the full moon coming through on Thursday night. Now the tides this weekend, there's not a lot of variant in the tides. Tomorrow morning a little bit after 6 a.m. and only about 1.59, so not a lot of movement, and of course around about 1:15 low tide. If you're going to have a chance to have a bit of a fish, it's got to be Sunday, I believe. There's a few fish on the beaches at the moment. We're starting to see quite a few tailor move along our coast, and of course I'm getting reports from up towards Stockton and Blacksmiths all the way down through to Catherine Bay. Some really nice tail on the beaches. There's still a fair few whiting there as well, and some really nice dart, but with this full moon coming, I think it's a really good opportunity to get out there and chase a few mulloway off the beach. Now, there's a bit of surface activity around the island, and a lot of bonito and of course Mac tunas and some frigates mixed in with some rat kings and a few tailor. Now, some of these frigates are moving down in towards Blacksmith's breakwater, so another opportunity for the land-based angler to get up on the breakwater and use those little tiny metal slugs, really high, just super quick retrieve, pull those slugs through for those little frigates. They're a fantastic sports fish, but also a great bait. Now, a few tropical fish coming down. I've had a few reports of Spangled Emperor, and of course we do get a bit of a run of Spangled Emperor in and around the back of the island, and particularly a little bit south down towards Mawson breakwater. Some nice fish, some of those fish 50 to 60 centimetres, and they do pull very hard. Late afternoons I think are going to be the trick, and this nice high tide, probably Monday, Tuesday, if the swell backs off, you could have a bit of a crack in those shallow waters. And the other species you will get there are a few reds, and there's a few reds on our inshore reefs, but no great size. The better fish have been that deeper water out on the farm, so fish kilo and a half is about what you're going to start to look at. We're going to start to see a lot of brim move around now. We have, our travelling fish are going to start to move into estuaries, and they did turn up on the beach this week. We started to see some brim. So we've really, I know we're only halfway through February, but autumn just around the corner, with weather conditions like we're having, it's very sort of unseasonal, I suppose, what we're getting, but we could have an early autumn. We're seeing this amalgamation now, the last of the summer species and the first of the winter species moving in. So it's a great chance to get out there and have a crack. Out wide, that current, seen some footage today, the fads down off Sydney nearly getting pulled under. It is just roaring down the coast, 3.5 to 4 knots of current, still that 27.4 degree water. The shootout, of course, next weekend up at Port Stephens, going to be tough. There's a few little black marlin now starting to turn up. They're not big fish, and you've got to work hard for them. We'll be out there next weekend chasing a blue marlin, and I think we've got to get the other side of the current, the only chance. And it's been an incredibly hard season for game fishing within the Newcastle area. Port Stephens no different. Very tough. We just haven't had that nice upwelling and that settling of the currents to hold the bait, basically. So I'm hoping, and I suppose we all are, that once we move in through the end of the month into March, April, that current slows down and we start to see a few of the fish come back through. A lot of trag on the inshore reefs, but a lot of flathead. Look, with weather conditions like this, and if we keep on getting these big wet periods, you're going to see those flathead move out of the lake earlier than expected. Normally they would move out around about March, and it generally coincides with a big rainfall event. But we've had so much water in the system that I've got a feeling that they're going to start to move out a bit earlier than that. There's been some really nice fish caught in the lake this week, lures in particular. Some of the shallow water stuff, there's been some really nice fish up around the high 80s, early 90s. So there's some great fish around. Still some nice whiting out on the sandflats. The problem this week, of course, we can't get tube worms. The guys out at Aquabait have got COVID, so they've been bombed out of action for a 7-day period. So you've just got to sort of have a bit more of a think about it. I really think your attention should turn back onto the flathead and of course brim, because we're getting a lot more brim in the system. There's been some beautiful tail in the lake. Really metal lures are working well. Early mornings and late afternoons. Just got to watch for these fish to bust up. But under these fish, they're working that bait very, very hard. There's some beautiful mulloway getting caught. And again, whether you're using the ZEREK vibes, soft plastics, just getting down there, those bigger profile plastics, you'll get some really, really nice mulloway under those working tailor. And finally, we're starting to see some really good squid action happening. And of course, the normal haunts, the drop over, down towards Murray's, those sandier type areas, 5 to around about 8 metres, proving well. The Paternoster rig, and look, those little jigs, anywhere from around about 1.5 up to 2 I like, but I mean, obviously, you can put a 2.5 down. But there's a real variant in them, and I had some really good reports this week. Some very, very nice lake squid getting out there. A few crabs, of course, and look, they'll start to sort of like back off a little bit now, and as they start to move, and we're going to see a lot of the blue smoke crabs that are in berry, they'll start to move out of the lake in March as well. So things are sort of looking promising. We've just got to get a break in the weather. It's been appalling. So look, hopefully next weekend we'll get a bit of ray of sunshine and a bit more of a positivity to our report. But Sunday onwards is the fishing tip. Now this week's winner of our ZEREK Fish of the Week is young Jackson King. Now Jackson last Saturday had an opportunity and really went out and combated the weather. He went down there to Swansea Bridge and he's been listening to these reports about kingies. He got his first kingie, even though it was undersized, it was still his first kingie. He got a small cobia as well and a couple of really nice brim up to 36 centimetres. Jackson, that's a tremendous effort. There's plenty of people out there that have never caught a cobia, let alone catching a small one. So great effort, Jackson. Jackson comes all the way from Singleton. So guys, come on down when you get a chance. Tomorrow's probably great because it's not going to be a great fishing day. And come down and pick up your ZEREK fish traps. I'll see you next week. Let's hope the weather breaks.